All right, hello. Let's talk about composition and rule of thirds. We know how to use some of the tools for this module. Well, we should know how to use all the tools for this module, such as the opacity, the effects, the blend modes, clipping masks, and so on. But we are utilizing that in alongside composition practice. So a common composition technique is called rule of thirds, where we break up our space, our canvas, or, if we're using a camera, like what we're shooting, into these 9 blocks of, we have a left side, a right side, a center, a top, a middle, a bottom, 9 squares or rectangles. It depends on, is your picture in 16:9 aspect ratio, or are we, using square? So rule of thirds is essentially a way we divide our artboards, our canvas, we can say, into thirds to put emphasis on and weight into our composition. So let me pull this up. And I just quickly made this scene we have a house, it's in the center. Not very visually interesting, but if we move some things around, and then let's go to trim mode, just moving things around a little bit, we sort of have this implied visual pathway to the house. We have movement from the right side of the canvas moving to the left, moving upwards to the left, and then going diagonally upwards to the right for the clouds. Instead of this sort of straight on center, there's this object in the center. It's sort of static. It feels, uninteresting. And of course, subjectively, you could argue that that is interesting, but I'm going to argue that this scene is much more interesting than this center orientation. So let's go back to view, trim mode, so we can see our grid lines. Let's make a quick composition utilizing our 3 colors, and use some just fun shapes, some abstract shapes. So we have shape 1. Shape 2, and we'll remove the fill, add a stroke, maybe scale it a little bit. And my goal essentially is to not center anything within this block, but rather have everything kind of live around it. And you can also think of it as planes, we have the top plane, the middle plane, and the bottom plane. So I have one shape that takes up all vertical planes, and then I have another shape that just takes up, let's make it a little bit like that. Maybe it goes off the edge. And let's give it a dashed line. I forgot what the rule was for this. We want 30. One point. There we go. Get some texture in there. Okay. And let's add our last shape. Where did my swatches go? There they are. Let's do one more shape. Let's do here, here, and I don't want that to be, oops, I want that to be this. Should just put this over here and then have, where did my strokes? Put it back in here so I don't lose it. We don't want a dashed line. And then I'll layer this in the back. So just taking my time and messing around with this. We will do something, oops, grab this one. And scale them down. Yeah. So just kind of playing around so that nothing really fits in the center. So we have, our goal really is to have like movement and weight, visual movement, meaning where do our eyes follow the image? Like where do our eyes go through the image? Where is the most weight visually? And we can create weight through, you know, mass, and we can create weight through multiples. If there's like a lot of an object in a certain area of the artboard, we can create weight through also color. So, my darkest color is this sort of dashed line, but it doesn't hold, the same amount of weight as like this medium purple tone, right? Maybe this will get, no, that's fine. Let's go into view, trim view, and we can see, how our eyes move from, to me, how I'm viewing it at least, is like we have this sort of swooping shape from this mid-right downwards and then back up, kind of ending not quite in the center. The concept might be a little obscure, a little abstract, but our goal is really to create asymmetry. Not centering objects within the center of the artboard. Like we have a perfectly square artboard, and let me just boop, boop, boop. We want to avoid our visual weight being left in the center of the artboard. We want to spread that out. We want the viewer to use, to physically move their eyes across the entire canvas. This is something called like leading lines, like we're leading their eyes throughout. There's like a pathway. There's this journey that we take. So there is, and I know on canvas, I can pull it up. Come over here. On canvas, on the instructions, step 1, you go down about 3/4 of the way down. We have rule of thirds, which please read, just check it out. I will go to the site now. So, and it kind of shows you examples. I'll make this big. Shows you examples of successful use of rule of thirds, right? So, this is something used in not only photography, but also painting and visual art. And you'll notice a lot of this asymmetry. The figure is sort of leaning one way, forcing you to see that visual weight on, the right, the left, the top, the bottom, whatever. And it's, also commonly used in landscape or landscape sort of paintings and photography, where we break up the horizon line into either 1/3 or 2. The horizon line is either at the 1/3 mark or the 2/3 mark. So here is a good example how the bottom of the painting is the water, and the top 2/3 is the sky. And then we see that the ship, the sort of the main subject of the painting, is off to 1/3 of the canvas, rather than being right in the center and having that horizon line right in the center. So, yes, take a look at some of the examples here. Again, that link is in Canvas on instruction page number 1. And it's okay, we're just practicing, we're learning. So really what my goal for you is to avoid boring, centers, symmetrical. Try and really break up your objects and see if you can really move things around. So I don't know, we have sort of we force the viewer to view this in in emotion. We lead their eyes through the artboard in a dynamic way. So hopefully that all makes sense. We'll definitely talk more in class about it, but yep, that is about it.